Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the CV axle on a 2010 Nissan Altima. This is going to be on the driver's side, so let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, there's a couple of ways that you can do it, but basically I set mine up to get this center nut off here, which by the way is a 32 millimeter bolt in here. So if you have stock wheels like I do, this center piece here, really the only way that I saw to get it off is to take the wheel off and take it off from the back, because how it's set up is this little ring here was in here, and I just took some pliers and popped it out, and then this pushed right through. The reason that I want that off is because once the car is jacked up and the tire is off the ground and we remove that tire, that CV axle is just going to spin in place. And so you either need a breaker air gun to get it off, or you need to get this center piece off so that I have some leverage with the tire, and I put the tire back on, some leverage here to be able to actually get that nut off. Alternatively, you could take some bar and basically put it between the studs and hold it, and then crank on that nut, but I don't really like that. I feel like I'm going to mess up my studs doing that. So to start, basically I jacked the car up and removed my stock tire so that I could get this center little design out, and the cotter pin. There's a cotter pin in there. So go ahead and do that first, whether you're using a breaker gun or you have stock wheels like me and need to get that off. Go ahead and do that first. So I got that giant nut off. It was a 32 millimeter. I don't really like this 12 point, however, this is all I could get. I prefer a 6 point on this, and I definitely needed a lot of leverage to get that off. So you can see here all of the boot that tore and all the grease and everywhere that it went. So that's why I'm replacing this. You can see that tear there. So the next thing's real quick. We're just gonna pop these off a little easier with two hands on both sides here, and then just take a flathead or pliers and pop this piece off so we can get the brake line out of the way. So go ahead and do that next. All right, with these out of the way and this piece out of the way, now we can take these two bolts here. They're both 21 millimeter on both sides here. Obviously, you'll need to stabilize one side while you crank the other side off. So go ahead and loosen these two nuts next. All right, so I popped it through. With these two off, you're able to pull this whole knuckle here out, and get all of this ball bearing and everything forward. It'll slide forward, and I was able to pop it out. It would not push through for me, so I lightly tapped it with a hammer. You might have to do the same. Just obviously be careful, you don't want to mess those teeth up in there. So next comes the fun part. We'll see if we'll be able to get it off easy. Basically, there's a little ring inside there that keeps it trapped in the transmission there. So I'm going to take a crowbar and put it in there and pry it out, and hopefully I have room with this A-arm and everything underneath. So after you pop this portion through, we need to pop it off of the transmission there. There is the potential for a little bit of oil to leak out, so put an oil pan under it to catch anything that might leak out. So go ahead and do that next. So definitely make sure that you have an oil pan underneath. I would say somewhere around a quarter of a quart or half a quart of oil came out. So you're definitely going to need to check your oil to make sure that you're at a proper level after this job. A decent amount came out and it just kept flowing out. So I basically had to take this nut out and move this back. So just be careful of your brake lines. And this is your ABS sensor line. Be careful those don't get caught on anything. And yeah, it popped out pretty easy. with the pry bar underneath, I had to move the oil pan, but I was able to stick one up through there and then get it behind and just hammer on this end to just pop that end out. And it didn't pop out initially real quick. It took a minute. But the main reason that you have to do that is, as you can see on this new one, has this little pin here to keep it in place. So you're also going to have to, as you're hammering this back in, or as you're putting it back in, you might have to tap on it with a hammer on the opposite end to get that pin into place. You really need that pin into place because that'll make sure it never comes out and you don't have any issues. So with it out, go ahead and clean everything up as best as you can. And then we're going to put the new axle, CV axle, back in. So I have everything in place here. Put everything through here. Got everything lined up properly. But you can see I cannot pop that in, and it's because of that little ring. So what I'm doing here is I put everything on. I'm going to lock this in, put a nut through so that it holds it in place. And I'm going to lift, I put the nut on here, basically so I don't mess up these threadings. Because I'm going to take a hammer and I'm just going to tap on here. You can either take a rubber mallet and start with that. That's probably the best way to do it with this on so you don't mess up the threadings. Or you could take a block of wood, put it on here. But I would put that nut on. It prevents the threadings from getting messed up so that you know you can put the nut the rest of the way on. So you need to do that until it taps back into place. So you can see I got it popped in there. It worked beautifully. I just used a rubber mallet. But if you put the nut on like that and put a block of wood or something, you can use a regular hammer. Popped on pretty easily. Just need to get that pin in place and it's locked in good now. So now we're going to go ahead and bolt everything back. So these two bolts here are going to be 105 foot-pounds that you need to torque it down to. So once you have that in, I mean, you can screw this on the rest of the way, but we need to do that after we put the tire back on. We'll need to come back to this. So go ahead and torque those two nuts next to 105 foot-pounds. All right, with those two bolts bolted down, you have your ABS wire. Pop those back in and then pop this piece back in on your brake line. So your brake line is stable there now. So then this center bolt, keep wanting to call it a castle nut because on other ones it is going to be 129 foot-pounds that you're going to crank that down to. Again, like I said, you could put a crowbar here and crank it. I don't really like that, so I'm going to be putting my tire on, dropping it, and then cranking that down. And then unfortunately I'm going to have to probably take it apart to put that piece back on. But I'd rather do it that way because I really don't want to put that weird stress on these studs. So anyways, from here, basically just take it for a test drive, make sure there's no clunking, nothing going on there. Like I was saying, you're the one who took this off, so you'll kind of know the distance on when you're putting it back on, how deep in that needs to go. Definitely check your oil. I did not expect that much oil to come out. When I removed this CV axle, you're definitely going to need to check it. I feel like I'm going to have to top mine off because that was a decent amount that came out. So anyways, that is how you replace the driver's side CV axle on a 2010 Nissan Altima. So hopefully this was helpful, and thanks for watching.